and they're continuing to one base to be like, oh, maybe I need to get Colossus and Blink and Storm and Dark Templar and Void Rays instead of only that minus the Void Rays. You know, just keep expanding, get more money. I will rub my eye. Oh. Okay, cool. Alright, so I'm going to answer this question by Mr. The Pig. This is Dr. Day 9. Yeah, PhD. I meant to do this. I meant to throw out the horns and be like, yeah, rock on. But instead, I just pulled out a phone. So, it said, Dr. Day 9. In unit composition, what should I strive... what should I strive to do? Should I calculate the damage? Or just try to counter the other player's forces? I'm actually going to circumvent this question and reemphasize what sort of logic you can use if you use the expansion logic. So, for instance, a style of play that I'm actually that I have been doing, and I'll talk about how I'm going to present it to you guys later. Style of play I've been doing in Protoss vs. Terran that I modeled off. I think he's German. He's definitely European. I think his name is Adel, Adel. I definitely stole it from him after seeing his play in Zotac Cups, where he just gets one gas, and then he starts getting the Warpgates, and then he expands, and then he gets more Warpgates, and then he expands again on one gas. So he's getting almost all Zealot Stalker, but he gets a lot of friggin' Zealot Stalker. And the extension of this play is then to get the Robotics Bay for Observers and Warp Prisms, and then to get the Twilight Council for the Zealot Leg upgrade. That's a very lean style of play. We're not worrying about any other tech structure. We're just expanding, pumping out tons of units. And I've been using it to great success in PvT because I just have way more stuff. These people come out with this perfectly timed Medevac, Marine with all the upgrades, Marauder with all the upgrades, Ghost with the Cloak upgrade, Push. And I'll just have 40 more food than he does because I can macro better. Looks good, right? I love that. So you can do some calculations for a unit composition mix. So for instance, here's a question you should ask yourself. And if you don't know, do the math. How many hits does it take for a Colossus to kill a Hydralisk? How many hits does it take for a +1 Colossus to kill a Hydralisk? And then +2 and then +3. And then you start learning things like, oh, if I get +2 upgrade for my Colossus, I can kill Zerglings in one hit. Pretty certain that statement that I just said is true. That sounds, yeah, because I think you do 38 damage per sweep because it's 30 and then +4 per upgrade. So cool, we can really start cutting through those Zerglings. So then I know if I see a huge Zergling force, I could probably wait until I have +2 to push out. Maybe there's at least logic there, right? But again, start whipping out some cutesy stuff, some expanding, and just getting more stuff. Let's see. Alright, so here's a question from Kodokan. Is it smart to expand if you fend off your opponent's first attack, but he is one base all in and another big attack will be coming soon? So you need to qualify the statement of fending off your opponent's first attack. So let's say, for instance, that, you know how at the start of the game I said that I really like going for 2 Warpgate Phoenix. Again, completely stolen from Noni. And let's say my opponent 4 Warpgates me, or actually 5 Warpgates me, and I scout this. If he attacks me and I hold it off with 2 Zealots and a Phoenix left over, it's okay not to expand because you're actually probably losing the game at that point. But if you crush a push cold, expand. Like, really. Like, totally no reason not to expand. Because I think everyone is aware that the defender has the advantage. Because it takes so long to get to his base, and he has high ground, and he has positioning, and he can get a good concave. 1,000,001 advantages. But the one advantage the defender doesn't have is attacking. And I know that sounds so dumb to say, but it's such a fundamental idea that's the whole core of why you can expand when you're ahead, and why you should expand when you're ahead, and there's no chance of him moving out. Because he just can't do anything about it. It's a 100% guaranteed advantage. The one thing to say, one thing to add about that is Yeah, I don't remember what I was going to say. There's nothing to add about that. Just friggin' expand when you attack. I started reading a question right in the middle of answering another question, so I lost my train of thought. But I will take this question from Darkstorm87. This is day 9. Why did neither player drop a forge that game? Seems to me it would have made a huge difference. Was there reasoning behind it? A lot of the reason why people are not throwing down forges is because they're low on bases. In a one basing style, generally, this isn't super strictly absolutely true. But in a one basing style, generally it's a little bit better to get the extra unit than it is to get the upgrade. Again, that is not a rule. Do not make that, that's just like an idea I want you to digest. If I'm on a one base and I get a forge and get a +1 upgrade, I could do that, or I could maybe get another Colossus if I time my economy well. In a one basing push style of play, where it's 3 Colossi or 2 Colossi and a very slow +1 upgrade, I'm gonna value the 3 Colossi a little bit more. However, when you start getting a lot of bases, those forges become hugely important because, a 160 food army that has 1/1 upgrades is way better than a 166 army with 0/0 upgrades. Like, clearly that's better. And I think it's going to take a very long time for people to figure out when they can plant down the forges, because it's still such a clear choice in terms of composition. Like, oh, he has all those zealots. Oh, I will get a Colossus. Or, oh, I have a Stargate and he has all those Colossus. I will get more Pheonixes. It's just like so clear. But the problem with upgrades, it's like, oh, he has that army composition. If I wait 2 minutes and 15 seconds and I get an upgrade, he will be slightly more vulnerable to my army that is the exact same mix as his. Like that, it's hard to tell. But again, people will figure that out over time. It took years and years and years for people to figure that out in Brood War, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. So last question. Let's see. Seconds Lol says, Dear Day 9, you mentioned that you almost always see Protoss one base for a long time. Do you think there's any way to fast expand and defend versus the 4-gate? Alright, so this is what I would recommend to Seconds LOL. First, open up a single-player game, such as on QXE's map tester or the Yabot build order tester, and just 4 Warpgate push. Or, 4 Warpgate push someone in multiplayer and then rewatch the replay. And look and say, what time does this happen? Oh, it happens at X minutes and Y seconds. Cool. Put that information in your pocket. And then start early expanding and time when you get things out. So for instance, let's say you're going to defend this 4 Warpgate push by largely using Immortals. If you don't have an Immortal by X seconds or X minutes and Y seconds, you did something wrong. So that's how I would first try to figure out ways to begin early expanding. What I would then do is, I think that the way that you could probably defend an early expansion, let's see, what do I think about that? I have a few thoughts. One would be to 1 gate expand and then immediately get a Robo and then immediately get 3 more Warp Gates. And the Robo you really need for the Immortal, because generally in 4 Warpgate pushing, the hard part to deal with is the Stalker. The quantity is one thing, but then the Stalker is really a tough unit in PvP to deal with. So I would get the Immortals really damn fast. Another thing I'm thinking is if you just went Forge Cannon and got a lot of sentries, and you see his Warpgate push, you're just like huge wall of force fields. And because you have an expansion, you can get the double gas ultra fast, and get even more sentries, and just endlessly delay. That sounds a little bit extreme. And also, in that decision with the sentries, I'm starting to think, well, what if he just goes blink? He just pops right over your force fields. You throw down some Guardian Shields and go, and then you leave the game. So that seems pretty effective. But, I guess I would... It's one of those things where it's going to require a lot of timing. I mean, if you hear the descriptions of how to get away with early expanding in Brood War, they sound insane. They really sound stupid. Like Protoss vs Zerg, okay, well what I'm going to do as Protoss is I'm going to go Nexus, Gateway Forge. I can build my Gateway before my Forge because I scouted what he was doing and I just feel safe. Then I'm going to make one cannon, and then I'm not going to make. I'm going to make 2 Zealots, and then I'm going to rush for a Stargate to make Corsairs that can't shoot down. And my expansion that has 1 cannon and 2 Zealots, it's safe. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's an adequate defense. And what if he makes 40 Zerglings? You get a 3rd Zealot. You know, like that's how people describe defending attacks in Brood War. Completely non-intuitive. There's no easy click thing to do. And that's why when someone asked me why when Seconds Law was like, how do you early expand and defend versus 4 Warpgate, I immediately said to myself, well, when does it come in time? And then I just need to practice to get enough stuff to defend in time. And probably you could do other cute things like have probes moving around at key locations on the map to snipe off any probes that are trying to build pylons. But with that, I'm going to wrap up. I'm done. I'm going to bed. Ladies and gentlemen, peace. See you tomorrow.